So hello everyone, my name is Rose Simpson. I'm a librarian at the New Haven Free Public Library, and welcome to Co-Create. We have here our creative in residence, Nadine Nelson, and today's special guest is Juanita Austin. And would you two like to introduce yourselves and tell us what we're working on today?
Sure.
Sure. So I'm Nadine. I am creative residence. I'm also the chef, owner, and educator of Global Local Gourmet, which is a culinary education company. I am an artist, and the way that Juanita and I met was I was doing a show at the Ely House in New Haven, which is a contemporary art center that is separate from Art Space. It is on Trumbull Street, I believe, in an old mini mansion. And it's a great space that has some wonderful shows. And Juanita came up to me at a show I was doing and said that she wanted to work with me. And when she was having a show in New London at art space that she can acknowledge if she wants to, uh, she she asked me to be in it, and I said yes. And I told her my ideas, and I love working with people who don't say no. So I told her my ideas, and she's a wonderful curator and a great person to work with. And she allowed me to visualize my installation the way that I wanted to and really enhance the experience. And we had some we had a great dinner. And I love her work. I love her energy. I love that she's very persistent and I mean, very creative. You should follow um, her on Facebook culture. She'll tell you what you should follow, but her work is very amazing, and she's doing wonderful things here in Connecticut and especially New London. And like New London, it's like I don't think that if I would have come that many times to New London,
Mhm.
it's like one of the places that I might consider to have, you know, a beach house or maybe live because it actually is a really interesting um our ecosystem that she has
Mhm.
helped to really create. So we're gonna talk about all of that. I'll let her introduce herself, but you know, she made a dream come true for me. So I'm really happy for her to be here. And I'm really lucky to when people say that they want to work with you, it's like you don't know if that's really true. And then,
Yeah.
we had a really good working relationship, and I hope that we can work together in the future.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nadine. So again, my name is Juanita Austin. I'm a curator and creative producer based here in New London, and I run an organization called Cultured AF. But just before we get into that, again, just following up on what Nadine said, we met, wow, a couple years ago now. As she mentioned, an exhibit in New Haven, and I don't think you know this, or may have mentioned it, but I sometimes have like a list of artists that I like find online, and they're like, all right, I'm going to work with them one day. And then so we happened to go to that exhibit, and I was so happy that we were able to connect and talk, and that you were really open to working with me. Because after I googled you, I'm like, oh my God, she's done so much. Like, how do I approach someone of her caliber? But you were so awesome, so open to everything that I was doing, and it was really exciting. And we'll talk more about that, event when we get into it later. But the beautiful work that you did for that reclaimed exhibition is definitely one of the most, memorable, pieces that I've been able to put together. And I'm really happy that you're a part of that and a big part of the dinner that we did together. But like I said, we'll get to that later. So as I mentioned, I am the creative director of Cultured AF, which is an arts organization that I started 2 years ago now here in New London. We are a collective of artists. We produce our own content. We have a space here in New London called Cultured Studios, where that's our base of operations. And so in that space, I have a gallery. We now have a boutique, and I can show you some of the things that I've been making for the shop. And then we also have an art and music lounge, which is in progress right now. We're building a stage and doing a lot of fun things. We have a kitchen space now, which is really exciting. I hope to get Nadine down again here for some programs now that we actually have a kitchen. And then we also are building out a music recording studio. So a lot of really fun and exciting things I'm looking forward to this year. And just thank you again, Nadine, for allowing me to share this space with you tonight. I'm just going to be here sort of like sketching and doodling. Most of my creative practice is like digital work or curating events in space. So I'm just going to have some fun drawing over here. I think you're muted, Nadine.
I'm muted.
There we go. I wasn't sure if you were
Sorry.
talking because of the mask, and then I realized that your mouth was moving.
So, sorry. So I said that, do you draw on a regular? Because I've been trying to draw more because I say that I can't draw. So I've been trying to like just get in the practice of drawing and just to think about the process of it, and that
Right.
I'm a visual person. So it helps me to illuminate my dreams and my thoughts. And
Right.
even if it's not like the best, it's still like really good practice to be able to do.
Right.
So
I do not draw at all. But I just got a new laptop that's a 2-in-1. So I have the stylus for it. So I'm going to try and just like sketching things. As you mentioned, it helps me visualize. So a lot of times when I'm like designing an exhibition, or right now I'm trying to design the art and music lounge. And so I, have these ideas in my head that I just need to see down on paper. Don't always have a paper and pen or something to sketch with. So I'm super excited that I have this capability on my laptop now. So hopefully that's going to get me like just sketching and drawing more. And as you said, not so much, in terms of the art of it, but at least to like help my creative process and like just get things physically down on something.
yeah, another curator, I don't know, do you know Martha Lewis?
Mm-mm.
She's another curator in New Haven. She told me when I did something for a show to write something, and to draw something, and I was really kind of resentful. And then I did it, and then it was so amazing that what I drew, the exact thing came to life. Like in reality, like I can't do the reality drawing, but everything that I came up with, like I was like, oh my God, like I did a map, I put everything where I wanted it, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I told her, I was like, thank you for pushing me, because it really does help with your creative process.
Right.
And just like writing anything down really helps to make sure that it happens. So I'm just, for anyone, it's not, I mean, today I'm just making jewelry. I'll show you the finished product, but I'm just breaking apart my beads. Can't really see because I have the whatchamacallit back there, but I'm just breaking apart my beads. So when I put whatever I try to put together, it's already, I can freestyle it. It's not, I don't have to break apart them when I'm in the process of doing it.
I do want to get into jewelry making. That's one of my my goals for this year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
I have
jewelry making.
No, go ahead.
Hmm?
Go ahead.
No.
No, I was just saying with the
No, I
boutique.
was just saying. You go.
I was just saying with the boutique, I've get into like just crafting and making different things to put in the shop. So there's always something new there, and so that's something that I want to try sometime this year.
Well, that's good. Jewelry has a good. I don't sell my jewelry. I usually just make it for myself, and then I make it for other people.
Yeah.
That I care about. But it is a high markup with money you make from it. So. I think that you're so talented. Like, so we'll get into it. Juanita, why don't you talk about the reclaimed exhibit? Like how, like, why don't you talk about that? Like,
yeah. So Reclaimed was an exhibition I curated, 2 years ago now? About 2 years ago at an art gallery here in New London. It was a space where I was the curator in residence, and so part of that program was I got to solo curate my own show. So Reclaimed was an exhibition that explored Black and African spirituality. And I allowed the artists that I selected for the show to really take on their own take on what that meant to them. So I really wanted to explore traditional forms of religion and spirituality for Black people, and mostly Black femmes. And so that's what the show was about. And we had about maybe, I think, 7 artists that participated in the show, Connecticut based. And then I also got a few artists from different parts of the country to send some pieces in for the show as well. And that was my second show that I curated, and it was just so special and so beautiful. Part of that, I wanted to do like different programming that went along with the exhibition. It was up for a month. And so part of that was I wanted to do a dinner. And so Nadine had this idea of doing an Oshun dinner celebrating the goddess Oshun. And so she came up with this idea, and I was just like, yes, I love it. It's perfect. So again, I kind of let her run with it. She kind of designed the look of it, and I was just really there to support as a curator. And so we did a dinner.
And graphic designer.
And graphic design. I think there were 15, 20 people that came to the dinner.
Yeah.
Something
There's
about
at least,
that.
I think there's 20. I think there's 20.
I think 20, yeah. And so if you see Nadine's background, actually, that is a picture from her installation of the exhibit, which again was all dedicated to Oshun. So it's just beautiful, gorgeous yellows and golds. And like when you walked into the gallery, you just turned this corner and saw this beautiful installation in place. And the main piece of it, right behind her head, you see this gold bodice that had this like kind of skirt around it, a fabric that draped along the floor, and on that had different harvest fruits on it. What else did you have on there?
I had
A bunch of different
shells.
things.
I
Shells.
had like Christmas ornaments that were like they were supposed to represent like bells of the ball. So
Yeah.
Oshun is the Nigerian goddess of love. And if you tuned into this, I've talked about her a lot because I get a lot of energy from her. And she's also a goddess of abundance. And earlier today we were cooking at a program, and I brought in sunflowers because she's also rules the kitchen. So she's someone that a goddess that I channel a lot. She gives me a lot of energy. And drive and determination. And she's also the goddess of water. And so without her, no life could happen, fresh water. And I also like Yemaya. Juanita, I'd like to do a Yemaya installation.
Yes.
At some point. These installations, you guys, like they're so all encompassing, but I really like them. I need to find a place where I can store my stuff when they're not when they're not being shown, because there's so like my Oshun, like there's like the mirrors and the artwork and the bodice and the chair, and it's like there's 2 parts to it. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I really enjoy doing it. And I'll just say, like, I'd never done a show outside of New Haven. You're my first show outside of New Haven. Like I've done social sculpture, but an installation is different. Like that was like my first like really, really like intentional installation, where all summer long I was gathering up stuff for my installation. And I was going to Salvation Army. I remember I went to Salvation Army. I was like, I spent so much money. I'm like, I have $11. I want that mirror. I want this. I want that.
You
I
could
was
do
like,
with that $11.
I know, like I said, I go there all the time. So my mom goes there all the time. So I was like, I need all of these things for $11. They're like $5.99, $1.99, da 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 da. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So there's a little pot right here. Let me see, like there's a pot right here that is from English Building Market. There's fabric from Jersey City. There was fabric from Harlem. So I went all over. Oh, I went to Harlem to the Botanica to get stuff for Oshun. So Oshun is you is a practice of all different types of people, but it stems from West Africa and Santeria, like here, and other things they practice in Brazil, and they call on Oshun. But you get different things to like candles to burn. Like there's all these different symbols and ceremonies around her. So I went to the Botanica in New York to make sure that I got the right things to represent her. So her colors are gold and yellow and white. I channeled the gold because I like glitter and things that shine. And I say to people, I was like, I was going for Donald Trump, but classy, you know? And that was a joke. Everybody, just so you know, it was a joke. But pumpkins, oranges, shells, like there's all these different things that are symbols. And I made sure that I went all around to get them. Juanita was so great in regard to the dinner and putting the dinner together. I don't think that a lot of people understand the production that goes into like food. And
Oh my God.
yeah, I
We
brought tablecloths and
we did
plates and
that.
yeah, like everything had to be coordinated and look, it's like she's the goddess of love and desire and sensuality and abundance. So everything had to look really good. So bringing all that stuff up to New London. I also like I do drive. I don't like to drive, and oftentimes I'm traveling from one place to the other, and people are like, well, I can't believe you don't drive. I'm like, well, I can't believe I don't drive, because if I was driving, I'd be sleeping and falling asleep at the wheel. So I had to bring stuff up to New London on the train sometimes. Like I did get a ride for the like big stuff, but I did come on the train. It was just hilarious one day that I had a carriage. I had this mirror, I think, here. And luckily I had a Puerto Rican conductor, because she saw all this gold stuff and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing a show on Oshun. And so she knew her. And so she stopped the train so I could get off. Easily. It was so hilarious. I was like, I love you. She's like, I love you too, you know? So so that was a really great, that was one of the best, Juanita, that was one of the best artistic experiences ever. I wanted to say that to you. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, and I don't understand. Nadine was cooking up in my little apartment, in my little kitchen. And then the actual location of the dinner was like across the street. So we're like, I had bringing food across the street to set up. If you guys could saw the production behind the scenes, it was a lot, but we pulled it off and it was beautiful. And the feedback that we got from a lot of people, they enjoyed the experience. So yeah, I would love to do that again. And like I said, we actually have a kitchen space now. And so I'm looking forward to just doing more programs that involve art, food, and culture, and like what that looks like, and being able to tie that in with some of the programs that we do here in New London. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Are you having an opening this Friday?
No, I'm not having an opening. We're doing like a virtual showcase. The opening, the space should like probably be finished by March. But I probably won't do like an opening until it gets like warmer out. Yeah.
So people can go outside.
Yeah, so people can go outside and yeah, and all those things.
Remember to tell me about it. I want to contribute.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We didn't do a grand opening for the other space, so I'm excited to do something for this space and really celebrate in whatever way we can this year.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job online. I
Thank
poked in,
you.
um, a little bit and I said like, Erica, like I always enjoy their energy and, um, oh, people, I would never like, I like to go out at nighttime, as old as I am sometimes. And I traveled to New London because Juanita knows how to throw a really great time, so I booked it to New London a couple times for her events, and when she has them again in person, they're totally worth the drive. There are people from New Haven and Bridgeport and
Yeah.
Hartford that come because her events are so amazing. Everyone's really nice. Everyone's really happy. They're really fun. And, for myself, I'm like a little older. I don't want to go to like a bar and just get
Right.
drunk or anything like
Right.
that. So they're really fun, nice times that you meet really good people. And it's just, it's inspiring, you know?
Yay, good. That's exactly what we want people to feel when they come into our space. So that's always good to hear and to know that people feel comfortable and feel at home in the spaces that we're curating. I'm really excited to
So
whenever live events get to happen again.
So talk about yourself. I always ask people about their artist journey,
Hmm.
and tell people a little bit about yourself, and how did you come to art and curating and all of that.
Sure. So as far as like art, I've always did like crafts when I was younger. I used to be into like making my own bags, sewing, like any kind of like little arts and crafts. I did calligraphy for a little bit and some other things. Um, then I kind of really got into photography, and that's probably what the like my biggest introduction probably into art would be through photography. My background degree is actually in digital media and design, and so I got into the School of Fine Arts for photography at UConn. But after taking some web design classes and then seeing this new program that they offered, I kind of switched over into the digital media space. And so like that's where a lot of my background is in that. So that's everything from web development and design to as photography, as I mentioned, doing a lot more video work these days because of COVID and having to transition into producing our own content online. So getting back more into doing video work. As you mentioned, Nadine, I do some graphic design, though I do not refer to myself as a graphic designer, just a creative person with a little design skills. So that's sort of like what my background is. And then getting into the art world was really when I came back into New London, and sort of got my first job back here at an art gallery. In that position as the gallery assistant, then gallery manager, was really just sort of like doing everything for the gallery space. So everything from marketing and design to helping with exhibitions and installations, all of those things. And getting more into that work is where I really saw that I enjoyed the curation of it, that side of working in a gallery space. And then also being able to just work with artists and getting to be able to like produce and host events there. That was kind of really the spark for me. And after doing that for a few years, I was like, you know what, I can kind of do this on my own. And that's kind of where culture launched off from 2 years ago. And so it was really kind of just a way for me to be able to share my love of art with my community. That's really where it started from. I just had this idea and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to start a brand that promotes art and culture. And then after a few months and getting our space, Cultured Studios, which we refer to as the OG Cultured Studios now, after getting that space, everything kind of like transitioned into ways I didn't really expect, and doing a lot of different things. So being able to actually have my own gallery space, which is just such an amazing thing for me, and being able to just have space that artists can show their work here in New London outside of the sort of traditional gallery spaces that exist. When creating my space, I wanted something that was not the traditional gallery space. I didn't want it to be a white wall gallery, sterile. I didn't want something where people come in, look, and leave. I wanted something that felt home, that felt comfortable, that felt warm, in a space where people can be and exist in. And which is why I call my space an art lounge, not necessarily an art gallery, because people are welcome to just hang out here, be with the art, sit with it, listen to music, have conversation, have community. That's really important, I believe, when experiencing art. So that's kind of where Cultured Studio started. And then, like I mentioned, over this past year, because of COVID and not being able to have a physical space, we had to figure out, well, what are we going to do now? Like, how are we still going to be able to connect with people and connect with our community? And so we really wanted to, get into try really producing our own content more. So everything from live stream sessions, music sessions, making music videos. We've hosted some virtual events, which has been a lot of fun. So that's been a big transition for us and a big learning curve for us. But it's been a lot of fun, I definitely have to say. So that's definitely one of you know, the challenges of COVID, but also, a challenge that I think we rose to, and we're really excited to keep exploring where this takes us in this digital space, and then moving into as we're getting into being able to do live events. Hopefully, like what do hybrids look like for us? So I want to continue in this production space. I'm actually really getting into live production. So that's a lot of fun for me. And so I'm excited to get into doing that more, helping my friends produce more videos and other artists. So that's kind of where I'm at in my creative practice, is the video work, the live production, live sound. I've had to learn a lot about sound over these last few months because of COVID. So always learning and trying new skills within this digital space is where I'm at right now.
Well, we're always working on sound too, aren't we, Rose?
It is a pain, but
Yep.
so necessary.
It is a continuous learning process.
Right. I'm like, I don't know when I became a sound engineer over these last few months, but yeah. And then my friends always want to try new things, and they're like, well, let's have instruments. I'm like, oh, so you guys want to throw instruments into my mix now? Oh, that's fun. But I'm glad for the challenge. And again, as you mentioned with Erica and my other partner, Josh and Urban Nerd, they're always working on something, some project. So we're always, busy here creating and trying different things.
So where do you see your art practice going? Especially with COVID and all of that.
So as far as cultured and my digital practice and digital producing, that's sort of where we're leaning more into now. So as I'm getting more comfortable learning the technology and equipment that we have, I want to start offering that to other artists and being able to help them with their production. As I mentioned, live production is starting to become my jam. I joke around with my friends, but real serious, that I'm going to get my director's chair really soon and walk around with my headset and my clipboard. So that's that's going to be me. But no, I want to start offering that for other artists. And so we actually had this past week 2 artists come to the space. Our first one was this artist, Jerry, who actually is a van lifer. So they live in their van and they are doing live streams, live music streams. So they sing and they're a guitarist. And so they were just looking for a space to actually be able to do some of their live sessions. So I was really excited to be able to offer the space to them last week, and they're coming again tomorrow to do their next live session. And then I had a friend who's been, getting into their craft more in singing. And so I was able to help them last Saturday, just produce a live video for them, a pre-recorded live, video for them. And so like that's definitely where we're going to be moving with Cultured, I believe, over this next, year, because that's what people are doing now. So figuring it out for ourselves and then helping artists also figure that out for them. Allie is here, and so I am helping them with their art demos. So we're doing art demos on Twitch, which is a lot of fun. So the last, two.
Can you just, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want
Oh,
you to
yeah.
tell people what Twitch is. Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, I saw Ali doing that, and I just think that I don't want to learn another platform, but I think that it's really, cool though.
Yeah.
And I think that especially like kids and, I think it's like really cool to do your demos and stuff like that on there. So.
Yeah. So Twitch is like I guess a live stream platform. It's used a lot right now in gaming. So you'll see like a lot of people who are like gaming, live gaming. You can watch them play their games. And then there's a lot of interactive features on it where people can like tip, or like there's icons and things on the screen. So it's a really interactive kind of like live stream platform, but you can use it for anything. I think there's a big market for like music and DJing on there as well. But Ali wanted to use it for their art demonstrations. And so we did some paper making demos, these last two ones, which were really cool. And so, it's a lot to be able to, like, as you mentioned, Nadine, learning another platform, and then having to have the right like equipment and setup. Like as an artist, that's a lot, especially if that's not your jam. And so being able, sorry, not paper making, paper marbling. Ali mentioned that in the comments. Yes, it was paper marbling. But yeah, as an artist, that's a lot to have to learn. And if you don't have the equipment to do a quality stream, that can be really difficult. So again, just opening up our space, Cultured Studios, to be able to help artists where we do the setup and they can just come in and do their thing. It's going to be really cool, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those with Ali and hopefully other artists as well in the next coming months.
On Twitch, do people do cooking videos on there?
I haven't dived deep in it, but I would think that it would be a good platform for that.
What?
I haven't dived too deep into the channels on Twitch, but I would imagine that would be a good like avenue there for cooking demos. I think it's a really good space for any kind of demonstrations that people are doing. Is a good place to do that. And it's just really cool because, it's a good way to just catch a new audience of people who may just happen upon your video because they're live and they see it there. So yeah, it's just another way to just like, casually pick up, some new audience, new people, hopefully on there.
How do you like, how would you describe the New London art scene compared to like New Haven? I know that you've gone to Bridgeport and stuff like that. So how would you describe those art scenes, and where do you see like New London going in, a couple years? Do you think that New London is going to go by way of gentrification? What do you think?
I do unfortunately think that it may go by the way of gentrification, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong in that. So New London's art scene is interesting. It's not as cohesive as a lot of people in the art space here think it is. I feel like there's so many different like silos in New London that don't interact with each other. And so I feel like there's just a lot of missed opportunities there. I feel like there's like this mainstream art scene that people kind of see and know about. And again, that's the general art spaces that people may know because it's on Bank Street. But then they don't really know about a lot of the other things that are going on, just because they don't get as much support as they should. But I'm hoping that's changing. There's been some, new things and new energy happening here in New London. We have an art council now that just got started a year ago.
Okay.
So that's still growing, and they're still learning, and we're all trying to figure out what that's going to look like. But I think that it's going to be a positive thing if you continue to shape it and, into the way that we want it to be. New London's exploring a cultural district. And so with that, the aim is to put more pressure on the city into supporting the arts and making sure they're supporting individual artists and not just the same nonprofit organizations that they're always supporting. And that's only going to happen, again, by pressing them and telling them, this is what we want and this is what we need. You can't continue to use the arts as, your tool for economic development, but then not putting in any of that money back into the arts. So that's, something that's happening. And I'm hoping that, again, we're going to be trying to really press forward on that. I'm really hoping that that we can keep the authentic, we don't say the authentic vibe that New London has in terms of our art scene. I don't, obviously no one wants gentrification to happen. But, you start seeing little things and you start getting that, that whiff of oh, I can see it. They're building more micro apartments here and this over here. And it's but again, I think we just have to, as artists, really start coming together and putting more pressure on the city to make sure that we're shaping our own art space, because New London is really small. And so I think we have that power. And so I'm optimistic and hoping that we can keep New London and shape it the way we want to. At least that's my goal. I've been trying to be more active in different organizations and different spaces over these last few months. So I want to sort of reflect, the art space that I see in my head and really try and project that out there. And hopefully it's making a difference, or it's going to make a difference moving forward.
Are you on the art council?
I'm on the art council. I'm not a board person, but I'm a member. So I attend the meetings. There's some other arts groups that, I've been getting involved with in New London. I'm working with the Southeastern Cultural Coalition now, and doing some programming with them for our region. And then hopefully maybe in a few months joining a board on something. So I'm trying to because in my head, I'm always the one, talking shit. So I'm you know what, let me try and be a little bit more active and see what I can do with my power.
That's good. I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'll just put in a plug for one of my programs that I do called Stir the Pot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about, is using, your talent to really influence your realm of influence, and to be able to make change. That we can all complain, that's easy to do, but then to try and do something about it and be part of the process of making our lives better, that's really important. And then especially, as I'm not saying this as a younger person,
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of younger people don't go to those type of meetings, and it's important to hear voices under 30, because so many of those meetings are with people over 50.
Yeah.
And even though I'm 50, I'm open-minded. I'm open-minded. A lot of people are not open-minded, they want to do things the same way. And if you do things the same way, you're going to get the same results. So you need new energy and new ideas, and a person like yourself that does, good things, and, things that people are not probably, in different ways that people could learn from.
Yeah. And I know everyone's not going to, be in all of these spaces. So, I feel like it's my responsibility to, highlight the other artists or other people that are here and say, hey, you know what, why do all of these tables look the same all the time? Or why, every time something happens, you guys are inviting the same people. And so I'm just now getting invited to the table. And I'm calling that out now and be like, you know what? These tables look exactly the same. Every time I'm in these rooms, they look exactly the same. Have you talked to so-and-so? Have you invited this organization? Why don't I see writer's block at the table? Why don't you talk to this person? Do you know Allie makes zines? Like all of these different things. And like, I'm trying to, use my power, my voice and influence to hopefully shine the light on other people. Cause I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And like you said, they do this on purpose. They keep these spaces, in these kind of secretive, tight knit groups. And that has to be broken up and to change. So that way we do get, fresh ideas, things don't get stale, that, we don't, gentrification doesn't happen. So, I'm trying to be optimistic because sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I'm a pessimist, probably most of the time. But I'm trying to work on that and be better and be a little bit more hopeful. Because definitely like, I'm just gonna do culture and mind my business. And then there's the other half of me that's like, no, when you can be more active and do other things. So like that's where I'm at right now.
What sign
Hey,
are you?
Josh. I
Yeah, hi, Josh.
I'm a Cancer.
Okay. A very rooted earth sign, very
Water.
practical. I thought it was, well, yeah, crafts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional.
Yep.
Emotional.
Yes. Cancer, Gemini rising, in Libra, Sun, Moon, Sun. Which one? Yeah. So
Yeah, she
yeah,
is
I'm all
making
over the
moves.
place.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Libra. I just thought this would be a good time that I think that you'd be into it because I did them at your event,
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, to do cards. So
Yes.
I don't do them all the time. Not everyone wants them, but I thought you would like them. Maybe Allie, I don't know, Deidre, Josh, if you want me to do your cards. So I made these cards. Um, these are, oh God, they're flower cards, and I have affirmation cards. So what would you like, Anita?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
I said I have flower cards. I
Flower.
don't know if you can
Okay.
see them, flower.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have affirmation cards.
How about I'm gonna go with
And
the
these are
flower?
decks that I made. Huh?
I'm gonna go with the flower.
Flower? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I asked, the prompt that I asked is, what do you want to flower? What do you want to blossom? What do you want to cultivate? So think about that. I'm shuffling them. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right. And then tell me if you want me to spread them or do you want me to just pick from the top or the bottom?
You can spread them.
Can't really see my hands. What would you tell me when to stop?
Stop.
So I came to Aster. Do you know what Aster looks like?
No.
I don't know if
See
you
if I
could be
can
really
Google
able
it.
to see it. Yeah.
How do you spell it?
It's Aster. It's a purple flower with
Okay.
a yellow middle.
Okay. I'm looking it up
And
so I can see.
all right.
Okay.
So the message is patience, love, and daintiness. Why do you think you got that?
Patience, love, and daintiness. Patience makes a lot of sense. I think that I'm definitely an impatient person, just on all fronts. But even just thinking with culture, and that's sort of what I was thinking about flowering, cultivating. I sometimes forget that, you know, everything's not going to happen right away, or it's not necessarily going to happen, on the timeline that I think that it should. And we've really only been doing this for 2 years and have done a lot in that 2 years. And so, like, definitely patience comes to mind with that. What were the other two? Daintiness and
And love.
in love. I I don't know what those are. Like, I can't think of what that could be referring to. Daintiness is
You feel it?
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I could
sit
see
with
myself
that.
getting that.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna sit with that.
Is,
I mean, if
does
we're talking
anyone else?
about patience and love, that would make sense.
I feel like I need to be more dainty sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm trying in 2021 to channel the divine feminine, more of it,
Right.
you know, beyond cooking and domestic arts, but like my being, I guess,
Mm,
you know. So being softer and maybe less direct.
mm.
So
I
Rose,
can
I
be
forgot
softer
to
sometimes, probably.
I forgot to take off my chef coat and put on my other shirt. Um,
It's all good.
Yeah. Josh says that I need to give myself grace. I could be more gentle with myself. That's always true too.
so do you think that you're hard on yourself?
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
I mean,
Very
I
true.
think that you should be amazed at what you've done in 2 years and during
Hmm.
um, a pandemic. You know, you've moved spaces.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen your new space, but it looks amazing, and your old space was amazing. You know, and
Hmm.
so that's hard to be able to do. Like, I don't think that most people could do that in 2 years, and you've done that, and
Because I'm
I know that.
impatient.
Yeah.
But yes.
Well, I mean, that's
No,
what I
I'm
said about
laughing
your
at myself.
persistence.
Yeah.
No, but I said that's what I said about your persistence and your diligence and stuff like that. I really admire that because it's hard to do business here in Connecticut. I don't think that a lot
Yeah.
of people understand that. It's not an
Yeah.
easy state to do business in. And so a lot of people, like you have great ideas, but when you could go share them with other people, and a lot of people can poo-poo them. I'm sure you
Hmm.
went to a bunch of places to get your, you know, to find your home, your gallery home,
Yeah.
and a lot of people probably they didn't understand what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
and so I find that a lot in Connecticut, trying to convince people of things, and it's so hard, especially when some people travel or they don't travel or stuff like that. But um, Connecticut is a very I wouldn't say that it's a progressive state.
Hmm.
I know that other people might want to think that it's progressive,
Right.
but having lived in Boston and Massachusetts and New York, and we're sandwiched in between, very much I enjoy being here. I don't want to make it seem like that, but um, that but it is kind of difficult to do business here because a lot of people have different ideas of what business is, and it's kind of archaic. It's not 2021. And
Yeah.
so when you're trying to do things that are progressive, um, I know that it takes a lot of patience and
Yeah.
tenacity and goodwill, you know? So does anyone
Absolutely.
else want me to do their cards while I have the cards out? Anyone can
I think
anyone can get their
Allie.
cards done. Allie, you want your cards done?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. Hey, Allie. So Rose, I don't know if you remember, Allie was on, I don't know if she was the second or third or what it was, but person.
Good to have you
So
back.
yes, good to have you back.
Hello.
Thank you.
I've got a lot of background noise, so I'm going to keep muted as much as I can.
All right. All right. So you see me shuffling. Tell me to stop.
Stop.
All right. And then do you want top, bottom, or spread?
Bottom.
Delphinium. So lightheartedness, vivacity, and levity. Why do you think you got that, Allie?
Because I'm getting ready to go on like a little mini vacay this weekend, so I'm looking
Again?
forward to it. No, the first time it got canceled.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It had to be
Oh.
rescheduled because of some dumb COVID stuff. Everybody's okay. Everybody tested negative, but the person like we were like going to be sharing like a space, and they got exposed at work, so we had to reschedule it to this weekend. But yes, it's like less than it's on. We leave Friday.
Good. So you need a little bit of vivacity, and lightheartedness and levity in your life?
I just need like a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, that too.
Anyone else? Deidre, Josh, you want me to do your...
Come on, Josh.
That's all right. If no one wants them, that's fine. Rose, you know you can always get your cards done. Do you want your cards done today, Rose?
Not today, thanks.
All right. I didn't think so, but I just thought I would offer.
Okay. I'm just sitting here chilling. I've got a cat on my lap, so I'm listening to him purr and petting him, and it's very relaxing.
Oh. So I know that you're involved in the Connecticut art scene, and so how would you describe it? Like, where do you see it going? I know that, thank you, Josh, for coming. That's fine, Deidre. How would you describe like the Connecticut art scene, especially during COVID, and what do you see, where do you see Connecticut going, especially since it's in between two kind of very bigger places in regard to art, or even like Providence has, I think, more going on than because of RISD and all that kind of stuff than Connecticut. So where do you see the Connecticut art scene?
Ooh, that is tough. It's almost very similar to New London and just on a bigger scale in that it's, again, very disconnected. Someone that I work with in for Lit Fest, they say Disconnecticut, because that's how they kind of see the art scene, as very disjointed. And so it's like, if you're down in southeastern Connecticut, a lot of times, unless you make the effort to, you don't really interact with what's going on in the Hartford art scene or down in New Haven or Bridgeport. And it's kind of really sad, especially for getting into talking about the Black art scene, right? Because Connecticut is so small. And so there's no reason why we can't all really interact and know each other. And I think that's, one of the reasons why, Josh makes a big effort, and now so do I in culture, to make sure that, we try and hit New Haven, try and hit Bridgeport. Before COVID happened, we were talking about like, hey, we need to make more connections up in Hartford. We need to start going up to more events up that way. And so like, one of the things, at least I hope for Cultured, and hopefully that sparks, again, within the Black art scene especially, sparks sort of this like interconnectedness between us all. Again, I know I've talked about that with some other people that we collaborate in New Haven about like, how can we connect all these really dope, things that are going on in terms of different spaces, different people that we can connect. Something I really want to do is do like sort of like a round table with different Connecticut event producers and curators, and sort of really, again, sort of talk about this, like talk about our different art scenes, talk about Connecticut, the different things that we're curating and producing for the culture here in Connecticut. Because there's no reason, as I mentioned, that, we all don't know each other, or we all can't connect in some way. Connecticut, like, as you mentioned, like Providence right next to us has, a bigger art scene. Even one of the things is, if you buy art in Rhode Island, it's all tax-free, right? And, one of the things is because they have realized, the impact of art Again, we don't like talking about art in terms of economic development and tourism, but unfortunately, if you're talking about
Juanita, we can't hear you. Soleil.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me now? Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry, my mic turned off. So I don't know where I left off, but yeah, just even that Rhode Island, you know, all sales for art are tax free, and so like looking at Connecticut,
Went out again. So while she's doing that, I was making jewelry, but
Okay.
I just want to tell people I was making jewelry, but because I had another event earlier today. I had a cooking class, and it was like a whole bunch of stuff about food styling and all this stuff. We had to bring so much equipment. I forgot, I didn't realize I brought the wrong twine for my necklaces. So this is really too thick. And then I was trying to repurpose, and nothing's long enough, even for my earrings. So today, I guess I'm meditating as my practice as I talk to you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm
Good.
kind of mad though, because I like when I do the jewelry because I finish something and I feel very accomplished in front of
Right.
Rose,
Right.
you know? So, yeah. So I'm sorry, continue.
Oh yeah, no. I was pretty much wrapping up on that point, but yeah, I just don't think Connecticut has really embraced arts and culture as much as they should. And so like just in some of the spaces I'm in now, I'm hoping that, you know, that's going to change in terms of certain bills that people are fighting for in terms of Connecticut regarding arts. Um, and then, as I mentioned, just within our own, at the grassroots level, just finding more ways to like connect with each other is something that at least I know I can help and do on my personal level.
You grew up your whole life in New London, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Um, and how was that?
It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of hard to say since I don't have anything to compare it to. But something I would definitely say is that I try and not take for granted and remember it's just like how close we are to the water. And so like I go to other places, you know, my backyard's not literally the beach, but the beach is about a minute walk from my house. And so like when other people say like, oh, we have to drive an hour to the beach, or like even just coming from like Hartford and then having to, you know, travel down to one of the other beaches is something that I'm like, oh shoot, I shouldn't take this for granted. And I think New London is a lot more beautiful than people give it credit for. So that's something that I always try and like remember and not take for granted. Definitely, I like being able to say like I know people in my community. So even if it's something like going to the corner store and you know they know me and we know each other, or going to you know somewhere and walking down the street and being able to say hey or wave at somebody. I think again that's something that people take advantage when they live in take advantage don't take advantage of or don't appreciate is what I'm looking for. Living in like a smaller place, people are always, you know, talking about, oh, we have to get out of New London or wanting to go live in a bigger city, and I understand that. But then it's just appreciating those little things that I'm like, you know what, I really do enjoy being able to say like I know a lot of people in my town, and that's something that as I've gotten older, I think I'm appreciating more now so than when I was younger. So I definitely had like the I need to get out of here syndrome a lot when I was younger. And while I still want to live somewhere else at some point, you know, I've had to realize that, you know, this is where I'm at now. And there's a lot to there's a lot of beauty here. And so while I'm here, how can I make the most of this, and how can I enjoy the space and time that I'm in right now?
Where are some of the places that you thought about moving to?
So I almost moved to, and I would never live there now, but I almost moved to San Francisco for a job after, after college. I went there for a job interview, like a third round job interview. So I thought I might move there, would never live there now. Two of my best
Why?
friends, San Francisco, I mean, I would still move to California. I just don't think San Francisco is my vibe at all. And then obviously it's expensive as hell. Two of my best friends have moved to California, so they're in like the Orange County area, which I could do Orange County, somewhere around there, or closer to San Diego. I haven't been there yet, but definitely a place I want to visit. A lot of people that I have talked to say that, like, if you are going to move somewhere, definitely check out San Diego. I've thought about, oddly enough, Seattle, because I went to visit there. I think I went there for also another like job or internship interview or something. So that was like in consideration for a little while. I definitely have to be somewhere on the coast. I know that, as I just mentioned with New London,
Yeah.
like I'm a coastal person, so I can't be anywhere that's more than an
Landlocked.
hour from the water. So anywhere I move to definitely has to be somewhere around there. I've thought about living abroad for a while. Not sure where exactly, but that's something that I want to like experience as well. So maybe in the next, few years or something, that's something that I can look into and try.
You think that you said you want to leave, but could you see yourself staying in New London or buying a house or putting down roots?
I definitely would buy a house. It's definitely a place I'm always going to come back to. So my family home is here, and my mom has said she's going to keep that house in the family. One of the things I've always wanted to do was to buy one of the um, historic houses here in New London, restore it, and like that would be my museum that I leave behind,
Oh,
like of my art collection. So something, I mean, obviously not on the scale of the Elizabeth Gardner Museum in Boston. Obviously, that's a mansion, but just buying one of
think
the
big, girl. Think big.
yeah, buying one of the historic houses here, because there's a lot of beautiful, beautiful homes in New London, and having that as my place where I build my art collection. So from everything that I've collected over my life, my travels, local artists, and having that as a place, that can leave my legacy behind. So New London's always going to be a staple. I imagine that, culture becomes a staple for New London, and I want cultured studios to always be headquartered here. So even if I'm not, running it or running the day to day, that's something that I want to be here. So New London's always a place that I'm going to come back to, no matter where I go, over the course of my life.
I love San Francisco. I wish that when I was younger, I would have moved there or Chicago, more so Chicago, because I love Chicago.
I've
I
been to
love,
Chicago. I haven't thought about that one, but that's also a good option.
yeah, Chicago. They have a really great art scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multicultural city with a huge Black base. Um,
Right.
but the other art scenes are really interesting too. Like I've been to the Mexican American Museum, and there's a neighborhood called Pilsen, which is Mexican American, and they have beautiful murals and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of different art scenes there. There's a lot of different types of people, which I like, having
Right.
grown up in Toronto. The food is really amazing there. And The people are really nice. I mean, I've only gone to visit, but everyone has been very nice. I don't know what it means to live there. San Francisco, I feel like people are nice too, but I didn't feel like those people were my people. Like
Right.
I didn't think that I didn't think it's like I like hanging out with them, but I was like, yeah, I couldn't do this every day, day to
Right.
day.
Right.
But I love it aesthetically. I think it's just like a really pretty
Yeah,
place.
it is.
Art wise too, it has a lot going on. You know, like I don't know about on the ground art scene, but the established, you know, the museums are they're really quite nice. That a lot of people, they're kind of off the radar compared to Los Angeles and other places. But I always enjoy going to visit San Francisco and go to their museums and the water and all those hills and everything like that. So, um, where's your favorite place to go in New London? Is it to the beach right in front of your house or?
My favorite place to go in London. That's interesting. Um, Actually, there's this kind of almost like a little secret garden because a lot of people don't know about it. Across from Con College called the Black Gardens. And so I just learned about it actually recently. And we did one of Erica's video shoots there. But I have to say, that's definitely like a hidden gem. So it's like right off the highway. But then you go down and then there's just like this beautiful, just open green area, gardens, just like this beautiful creek back there. So that's definitely a place that I want to spend more time in. I actually thought about doing some kind of, when I was doing Reclaimed, doing some kind of like event there, whether it was like a healing circle or like something of that nature out there. But it's really beautiful. So that's probably one. And then, yeah, I would have to say probably the beach. I think that's, one of New London's assets. And again, something that I don't think everyone appreciates all the time. But yeah, being able to just like step out my house and walk around the corner and just go for a walk on the beach is awesome.
Do you ever go to Foxwoods or anything like that? And how is like
Oh, yeah.
COVID, how has it influenced, you know, that area and everything?
Yeah, so definitely if you're on this side, Foxwoods is just like a staple that we go to, like a normal sort of outing. Same way like most people were like go to the bar, like we go to Foxwoods in that side sort of way. Definitely when you're a kid, it's almost like when you're like, oh, just kids go roam around the mall. It's kind of like the same thing in terms of like Foxwoods and Mohegan. Honestly, I think during COVID, people are still going there. So I know the casinos are doing perfectly fine during this time. Is not stopping anybody, honestly. So that's a little bit scary. But what can you do?
Um, so do you want to talk about further collaborating?
Yeah, what do you have in mind?
So,
Mentioned, yeah.
last year, I curated, extended Oshun and had a show and had other artists and everything. I was really excited I wanted to get a Carrie Mae Weems and I didn't have to go to her gallery in New York and act a fool to be like, can I get a Carrie Mae Weems? Can I get a breakfast table picture, please? But the executive director at the National Museum of African American Artists, were friends, and he gave it to me on loan, and some other really great artists. And so we had a show, but then it opened on March 6th, and then it closed.
Oh yeah.
And so, it was this beautiful show and we had a really good opening. And, because it was on Oshun and it was in Jersey City, there's a really big Santeria,
Right.
community, and they have found out about it. So people came to the opening from like all far away, like 2 hours. And I was like, damn, and, but people were really into it. And so I'd like to take that same exhibit and bring it online. And I'd like to do it again in the future, but who knows, like when, like when we're gonna meet in person. And like it's kind of meant to be, I mean, I would like someone to bounce ideas off of like yourself, because you are a curator, and it's like how it could be online and still be meaningful, in the sense of like this last time around I was trying to illuminate even more so the five senses. So like we had like stations for touch and stations for smell and all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to take it online because I think that people would benefit from it, and I think that a lot of people love Oshun. So that way. Of course, I would love to do another show at your space or whatever, but I'm just saying in the meantime, since people can't come and see art in person if it's not a big enough space. If it's not a big enough space,
Right. Yeah, I've been thinking about how to do online exhibitions in a way that it's like engaging and interactive. And so like that's definitely something that I want to explore, because I actually did not do that over this time that we've been dealing with COVID. I haven't done an online exhibition. But I know that's something that I want to try and figure out. And like, again, the fun part of it is like, all right, how do we take this and then again, make it so it's engaging in a way. And it's not just, all right, looking through a slideshow of pictures, what are different ways that we can really bring people into this digital space. So yeah, I'm super interested in that. I'm hoping by the fall that I'll be able to curate a bigger show, possibly at Con College. And so like it might be a bigger iteration of Reclaimed and like doing that again. Or I have some like other ideas I'm playing around with for different shows. But I actually was just thinking about that earlier because I need to follow up on that and see if it's in my proposal for the space that it may be in, and hopefully in the fall might be able to do something as well.
That's great. Does Con College they call for proposals for the gallery?
No, so I work there, and so they have a slot that's open either for their professors, or they're opening it up to staff. So they asked me if I would be interested in doing something. So I kind of just have to submit them my idea and see if it gets approved. But I do, as I've been working with them, they've been talking about wanting to be more active in the New London community and opening up different opportunities. So that's something that I'm hoping that I can really tap into and allow more people from our community to be able to use their spaces, and also vice versa, bringing more of what Con College does into New London, because that's, again, an area where it's very separated and it's almost like Con College is its own little entity that's not in New London, even though it is. So a lot of the professors I've been talking to in my departments, because I work in the art department, and then also collaborate with the Ammerman Center for Arts and Technology, seem really open into finding ways to like connect and bridge that gap between London and then also cultured in our community into what Con College is doing. So that's also really fun and exciting.
Do people from Con College, like, here at Yale, that there's like a very much, I think, divide between, town and gown? Is that the way that it is in New London?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like it's even more so because they sort of like, again, have their own space. It's not even like, unlike Yale, that's kind of in New Haven, like Con College kind of has its own like little separate area. I know like years ago, they had more like spaces that were actually in like downtown London.
Okay.
So they had different like offices and things that were like down here. I think they had like student housing at one point down here. But I believe after like a transition to another president, there was something that happened and they kind of like recluded into themselves. And so like they don't have any more of those spaces, you know, downtown or in other parts of New London. So everything is just on their campus and that's really it. So again, that's something that I hope changes as well, moving forward. Because I'm like, New London has technically 3 colleges here: Mitchell College, Conn College, and the Coast Guard. And it doesn't actually feel like a college town at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird because each of them, you know, stay secluded into their own areas. The Coast Guard, you know, I can kind of understand, but Mitchell College and Conn College, it's like, hey, y'all, you're in New London, you know, integrate. But
I didn't know about Mitchell College. What kind of college is that?
it's a small private college. It's like, again, it's like you wouldn't know because it's down by, like, if you're going towards the beach and like the more suburban area of New London. But it's like, yeah, it's a small liberal arts college. I actually kind of forget it's there sometimes.
I never heard of it in my life.
Yeah.
You know? So, what is, who are some of your favorite artists?
Ooh, my favorite artist. So one, Bisa Butler. Do you know?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone watching that doesn't know, they do this work that's like quilted pieces, and it's just magnificent. There's actually some Connecticut artists that I've seen that have that do work like that.
Are you talking about Janetta Cole, Janetta Miller, Janetta Miller?
I don't know Janetta Miller. That name is not ringing a bell.
Okay.
There's one, and I am just spacing on her name right now, who I had a couple of her quilts at the studio. And then I feel like I saw somebody else that I realized also does that in Connecticut. And I'm like, okay, I need to do a show because these quilted pieces are amazing. So yeah, I love that work. Someone that I just discovered recently, actually a Connecticut person, Elisa Cyclianos Carter. They're actually the one of the artists in residence for MakeHaven right now, and their work is really beautiful. And so, like, they just did an artist talk for Conn College, one of the painting programs there. And so they're a mixed media painter, Black woman, and a lot of her work is inspired through spirituality, through Afrofuturism. She has a lot of work that focuses on hair and the way women's braids, and kind of like working that into the painting. And so like that's work that I haven't seen it in person, but I'm like, all right, that's a train ride to New Haven. I need to go check that out. So that's just like someone I just discovered that I'm like, okay, this is really dope, and would love to do a show with them at some point. That's for visual art. If we're talking about music, Janelle Monáe, probably one of my favorites. Actually, I just bought 2, so I'm trying to start a vinyl collection. One of the things I want to have here at Codred Studios, because it's not just an art lounge, it's also a music lounge, is have vinyl records here. Yeah. And
I
so
like that.
I finally bought my first 2, and I did go modern with them, but I had to buy Janelle Monáe. And then I also brought J. Cole, because I saw him concert, that album, and best concert I've ever went to.
Did you see Janelle? Have you seen Janelle Monáe in concert?
I have not, but I want to.
Oh, we saw her in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was it's probably like 6 years ago now. I brought Soleil to see where I grew up, because I grew up in Toronto. And so we stayed with my cousin, and she has a daughter the same age as Soleil. And we had so much fun because there's so many, you know, like Toronto is very different than here. It's like you can go out to like we went to Janelle Monáe, and there were, you know, grandparents, like whole families out together at 11 o'clock at night. You know, it was like so beautiful to see that, you know, like when you have concerts on the green here at 9 o'clock, they clear everyone out. And it was just so nice that it was like very outside of America. You know, like I don't like to say European because like everywhere outside of America, people congregate and have fun and they go to concerts and they go with families. It seems like, you know, like so yeah, she was amazing. She was amazing.
Oh my God. And then one more, as far as someone that's like a producer, cultural producer, director, Issa Rae. So I look up to Issa Rae a lot. I don't necessarily want to do film or TV, but just the way they think and create and produce is really inspiring for me. So I definitely like follow their work a lot and sort of their journey of how they went even just from a web, you know, series to HBO. And then just sort of all the other things that she does as well, you know, just as a producer. So definitely on that level, one of my favorite artists.
Did you watch what's her show called again? Insecure. Did you watch Insecure?
Yes.
Did you watch it this season?
Did the new one start, the last one?
Where Molly was going out with the Asian dude and yeah. So how'd you feel the season was?
I really liked it. I liked the season a lot.
Yeah.
And again, it's just always so, she's just always so on. It's very realistic. I believe the character is very believable. The way she writes, with still being able to throw in that humor in the way that she does, is brilliant to me. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one, which is the last one, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that's
season 5. Yeah, it's the last season, but I know it's going to be good.
Do you think that her and Molly should still be friends?
I don't think it's something that you have to push, you know? I hope that if it's something where like they can come back together, that's great. But sometimes I feel like that, you know, we try and push people to be in friendships just because they've been friends for a long time. And that's something that I, you know, have gone through. And it's okay to say, you know, hey, we're just not these same people anymore. And then sometimes you just have to make that decision if that's the best for you. But I hope that, you know, I hope that they do. But not something that I'm like, if the show decides that they're not going to be, like, I would get that and understand.
Yeah. It was an interesting season.
It was.
I like how like the creative arches, because they've been all different and you know, you can tell like, you know, working on different aspects of relationships and you know, as one writes creatively, it's interesting to see from one year to the next and to see the progression and the maturity or lack thereof of the characters.
Right.
So you said you don't want to produce shows, but you do get inspiration from her.
Yes. Yeah, I don't see myself ever like getting into writing. Okay, maybe directing. I could probably get into directing. I don't think I ever see myself actually like being a writer. Like I actually really hate writing. But I know Josh is really into or he wants to get into screenplay and writing screenplays. So like on the side of like I've always loved the director of photography. So like being able to envision shots in that way is something I'm really interested in. So when I'm watching shows, I pay attention a lot to like how things are shot, how things are set up, the lighting for a scene that they're using. Those are sort of things I kind of pay attention to when I'm watching a TV show or a movie. I also pay attention to, though, the art in the background. And I'm like, who gets to decide that? I want to be the person that just picks out the art for a scene. Like, I think that's really interesting, too. So whether that's like a set designer or if they specifically have like an art consultant on that, not sure. I'm trying to figure that out, but I would love to do that. I don't know if you've ever seen Empire, but they put a lot of Black art
Mhm.
into the show, right? So I'm like, all right, these are intentional thoughts. Like, who's doing that?
Yeah. I only watched the first season. I didn't watch after that, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's something I noticed, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to look into this at some point.
My friend's artwork got in Being Mary Jane in her apartment.
Oh,
So, you know, someone, they didn't buy the artwork, they just rented it or, you know, do whatever,
yeah,
you know. But it's so interesting to always to see it in her apartment in New York.
right.
And be like, oh my God, that's Dina's painting.
That's dope.
You know?
How did you contact her? How did they find her?
She's in the music. She's a music executive, so I don't know if they found her like that. But there is a person that you're talking about that does that type of work. And I don't know if my friend Akawov used to do that, but someone that she used to manage and as a gallerist. I don't know if you know Paul Goodnight. But his work back in the day used to be in like the Cosby Show, all those type of programs.
Okay.
And his work has like been commissioned by the Soccer Association and like America for like different things. You know, he has actually a very beautiful style. He does he paints a lot of different scenes of Black life and Black culture, including he's been to, you know, the continent and, you know, has beautiful pictures of like fishermen by the water that he's painted and stuff like that. So, but his hard work has been on a lot of different programs. There's only two artists that I know. Are you friends with Bisa Butler? I'm friends with her on Facebook. She's really nice.
Oh, yeah? That's awesome.
Yeah, she's really nice. So I just told you that so you could, you know, become friends with her. She's like one of those people I don't think that, you know, like she'll know me from a can of paint. So I know a lot. I know a lot of artists like this person I talk about, Theta, is what my good friends from college, and she lives in Jersey City. And so when I thought about, you know, moving down to New York or Jersey, then I know a lot of those artists down there now in northern Jersey. So you know, Bisa doesn't know me, but I know people that know her.
Right.
And, you know, like, because they're in that kind of Montclair, upper New Jersey art scene, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see how she has a big show, right? Is it in the Midwest or somewhere? Or
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see her work in person. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
Yes.
And then, you know, she seems like she has a lovely family too. And I always think that that's interesting to be a creative and have a family and, you know, like, how do you have the time? Because I'm like, how the hell do you have the time? You're making these pieces, like, I don't know how you have the time. You know, I just said that I'm waiting to be like Nick Cave, where I have like assistants that go and buy my stuff for me. And, you know, like, that's what I'm looking like. I'll draw and I'll give it to you to like, you know? So I don't know if she's like that, but I love her work and I love quilting. One of the times during one of these co-creates, I'm going to probably, I said in March, start using the sewing machines, but I found it in my head that I was going to hand sew tablecloth. So I did a little bit of it, but I'm not the best sewer and seamstress. And so I really do want to learn how to be able to use the sewing machine better. I don't think I'm going to ever quilt. I think that that is a lot of finite work that I don't know if I have the patience for. So, but I admire people who do quilting and do those fabric arts. I love fabric arts. I love texture. I love that kind of stuff. So that's why I've been trying to do the tablecloths, you know?
Yeah,
My little part.
I want to learn how to sew as well. So I can sew by hand. I haven't done it in a really long time. But I never quite got the sewing machine. So hopefully that's going to be something I get this year, so I can practice on that. But I do have a friend who can use it. So I'm like, yeah, if you want to leave that here at the studio, that'd be great. But that's something, again, on my my crafting wish list for this year. I want to take one of the days that I'm just like here and the studio's open, and just like make that crafting time. So like obviously New London, there's not a lot of like the downtown retail is like, it's not super busy. We don't get a lot of foot traffic. So a lot of times I'm here in the space and the boutique is open and try and use that as like set time to like, create. I'm trying to put more time aside for that and like really be intentional about like, all right, no, this is my creating time. This is my crafting time. Like I'm working on this. And so like having set times and days where I'm going to do that. So that's one of the things I'm excited about with this space. And like Josh makes fun of me, but he's like, oh, you're in your sweatshop. So I have my Cricut machine now and my heat press. And so like, I'm just like making a bunch of stuff and it's a lot of fun.
So are people going to be able to come in there like a maker space too, or no?
I wouldn't say a full maker space kind of thing, but I probably will, because I just don't have enough equipment. But like if people want to come and bring their own thing, whatever they have, and like just come and create, that's definitely something that I would want to do. I'm
Sounds
probably
more like a co-working space.
more like a co-working, yeah. And so like coming as we were doing it in the other space, like just come and like if you want to come and write, if you want to come write and sew, like let's all just get together and create. I also do want to offer, and again, I don't know what it's going to look like, but like again, if someone does want to make merch, so if you're a local artist, you're like, you know what, I want to make my own t-shirts. Well, I have the Cricut machine. I have that here. Come and use our tools. So like, again, maybe semi makerspace kind of thing, but we'll figure out what that's going to look like, as we move forward and we're able to open up our space a little bit more.
How much space do you have?
It's actually a pretty big space. So the space I'm in right now is just like the lobby space or entryway. And then it goes downstairs and you're in like the shop boutique area. And then you go out of that, and that's when you're in the art and music lounge, which is a decent sized space. And then off of that is the music recording studio, the kitchen, and then like I have another little room that I'm going to use as like an office crafting space.
That's
so
great.
A lot more
That's a
than
nice
what
space.
I had from space.
Yeah, and your space across the street was really big. I think,
it was a good sized space. It was just everything was in one room. It's nice that we have sort of like, separate spaces now to be able to work and do different things.
That's cool. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited
to see it.
How
long do you think it's going to take?
Again, hopefully by March 1st, it'll be ready. So we just got a CARES grant, which was it's going to be really helpful. So now I can sort of like finish up those last things I want to do. The fun part is the shopping and, buying stuff to actually design, the lounge space. So that's my jam. That's my fun part. So I got my Pinterest board up with all my color schemes and like things I want to get, furniture and textiles and pillows and things. So that's the fun part, being able to like put that all together. My dad is like building our stage, and he's helping build the recording studio area. So like in terms of like soundproofing it.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is to like finish that up during February and then being able to sort of unveil it in March.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about, because I thought that people might find this helpful, is that you and Allie, you guys have gotten a lot of, you two have gotten a lot of grants. Do you want to talk about that and the process? And you said you don't like to write, but it seems like you do a really good job getting those grants.
So the grants that I have been able to get, we're lucky that those weren't like extensive ones where you have to like write a whole proposal. So like some of the like really good grants that were like, I believe accessible for people was the one that I got with Allie. Crap, I can't think of what it's called right now, but that one was from the Connecticut Office of the Arts, and that one was for $4,000. And that's where we were supposed to do a book arts festival in New London. That was like going to be a 3-day event. But then with COVID, we had to switch that, and we just did an online program. It was called the Art of Words Storytelling Panel. But for the grant, that's like, that application, again, was pretty straightforward. So you just had to like, I believe you submit like a budget, you write sort of what your general idea is. That one was like a pretty straightforward one. So I think the misconception a lot with people with like the grants that, you know, we've gotten and other grants out there is there's like almost like 2 types. So there's one that it's a really straightforward application where like they tell you what you want, you just fill in the information, tell them what you want to do with the money, and that's kind of it. And then there's ones that are like more extensive where it's like you really have to write like a detailed proposal. And those are ones where like you might want like a grant writer for. And those are ones where like it gets into the nitty gritty of like how you're spending the money, contracting, like a proposal that's like, you know, 2 pages. I haven't done anything that extensive. I tried to do an RFP for something, and we got to the 2nd stage, but then I think the funding fell through. So, but so those grants, again, the New Haven actually Arts Council has the Arts Workforce grant, initiative grant. And so I was awarded that one once, which was $1,000, and that helped me do the Reclaimed exhibition.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good grant for artists to apply for. And I love that one because they open it to artists, creative professionals, curators. So you don't have to be necessarily like a practicing studio artist. Like anyone that's like creating or producing something can apply for that grant. And a lot of times you don't get that with art grants. So I like
That's excellent. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I'm glad they made that really accessible. And that one, again, was a really simple application. You just put in what you wanted to do. Again, when I say that, it was like a couple paragraphs, nothing too crazy. You didn't have to provide like a detailed budget. You kind of just told them what you wanted to spend the money on. And then they gave that money, the turnaround for that is really quick. So they gave it within like 3 weeks after they like approved it. Yeah. So whenever that grant, you know, is active again, it's the Arts Workforce grant from the New Haven Arts Council. That's a really, really good one, easy and accessible, that artists should apply for. So I do want to do like a discussion at some point, just a really casual one, because a lot of people have asked about some of the grants that we've gotten and like how I did that. So like just giving just some like general information and like demystifying the process a lot for people. And then also providing some resources. So that's something I want to get on my website at some point in terms of like a list of resources and a list of grants that are like, hey, this is an accessible one. Like make sure this is on your radar and apply for that. Allie, you know, gave me the good tip to like put it on your calendar too, especially for yearly grants. So that way you don't miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'm always like, I see something and it's always like a day late or 2 days late or something. So like, I'm trying to get better with like putting things on my calendar. So like, I know it's coming up. But yeah.
I put it on a spreadsheet.
On a spreadsheet, right? So that way you can go back to like grants for the year and like, and have that and be able to like follow up with that. Yeah. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah. When COVID hit, I was like, okay, you know, I had my show. It was really great. And then it closed down. You know, it was at the beginning of COVID. And so it was like, okay, no one was trying to do anything really online because people felt like, oh, okay, this is going to be a month or two. And like, let's see what's going to happen. I was like, oh, okay. And then when I saw that nothing, you know, that, okay, we're not going back to normal, whatever that means. Then I just started writing I just started writing grants, art grants, you know, and the Creative in Residence is one of the ones that I got. And I tell people, look, I didn't get it the first time. I applied a second time and I got it. And it's been a great experience. And grants, like to be able to fund your dreams and, you know, not put, you know, like I remember when I was doing your show and I'm like, I would get up in the morning, I'm like, I gotta create art. I gotta create art because it's like, you know, like, it's like I'm doing my regular job and, you know, it's not, it's like, obviously it's my job, but you know, so it's great when you have a grant where you don't have to feel like, oh my God, I gotta fit this in between all the other things that I have to do, you know? It puts a lot of pressure off of you and it gives you a lot of time and then space to be able to have that creative energy. You know, when you're trying to survive, it's hard to be creative, you know? Except with the meals that you're trying to create with the limited ingredients that you might have. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. It's good to be able to have grants and have that kind of institutional support. You know, so we're winding down. It's 8:17, and I have to go to the WC because I didn't do it before the show. We were cleaning up from our other. I had to sit down because we did. I'm doing this thing during the month of Black History Month, Pan African Kitchen Lab, where we're workshopping. Yeah, we're workshopping recipes from the African diaspora. And so we ended, and then we had to clean. And then I was like, let me sit down for a second and have, you know, a little water and a little bit of food so I can like build up my energy to come back again, you know? Rose, when I'm thinking about these things, I'm thinking about, I just want to do it on the same day. So I don't have to do it on 2 separate days, but then you think about, whoa.
Oh, now you gotta.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a long day. And I've been up since like 4 o'clock this morning because when I have something to do, my body's like, okay, gotta get up, gotta do this, you know?
Well, I hope you can get some good sleep tonight then.
I'm a little wired right now, I can tell, so it'll be really interesting. But hopefully
have some
I'll
chamomile tea, maybe calm down.
Yeah, you know, or a beer, you know.
Whatever works for you.
You know. So what do you want to tell about, you know, your spring? What do you want people to know as we, you know, finish up?
So again, going into cultured, we're trying to like start up our programs again. We kind of took a little bit of a break over winter because I'm like, yo, I'm tired. So this Friday we're doing a showcase and open mic, and then we're going to be bring back our Talk Your Shit open mics once a month, first Friday. So that's coming back, and I know people are going to be really excited for that program.
That's really fun, you guys. That's what I've gone to in New London. It's really fun, high quality artists, like, and I wouldn't say, I just wouldn't say anything if I didn't feel like that. But if I could go out 45 minutes and then come back home and then feel like, oh my God, like it was really fun, you know?
So yeah, we're going to continue that virtually, and hopefully when it gets warmer, we'll at least be able to do it socially distanced outside. So that's coming back. Erica and Josh are working on some like writing sessions for people. So they're developing like a little, I think it's going to be, I can't remember if it's monthly or bi-weekly, just offer different like writing sessions for people. So we're going to be starting that, and that's going to be a new program. Something new we've been doing it for the last few months, but I finally have a blog writer for a website. So we're featuring different, mostly Connecticut based, but we do broaden it to other artists as well on our website. So definitely go and check out those articles. They're posted twice a month. So that's great. And then, like I said, as we're moving forward, we're hoping to be able to just help other artists with their content production. I guess I forgot to mention. So the last grant that I did get was from the Southeastern Cultural Coalition. And so I got that grant, and I told, my team, Josh and Erica, to also apply as artists. And so that one was $1,000 to go towards digital content or live stream. And so with that, I'm doing a program called Cultured Live Sessions. And so I did the first one with Erica, where we did a live, it's a pre-recorded live video, 2 songs. So think of it like Tiny Desk. It's like my Tiny Desk version.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, so like it's shot right here in our little gallery space, lobby space that I'm in right now. So it's live vocals, and then we premiere it and do like a premiere event, premiere the video, and then do an artist chat with the artist live and open it up for questions. So Josh is the next one that's coming up on the 19th. And then I'll be bringing in a couple other artists from across the state to do their own live sessions. So that was what I wrote my grant for from the Office of the Arts, Southeastern Cultural Coalition. So that's the other program that I'm doing. And then, as I mentioned, we're just trying to finish up the Art and Music Lounge, and hopefully that space will be open. I want to have coffee and tea available, as I mentioned. There's going to be a photo booth. We're going to have a record player and just other different interactive things in the space. Of course, it's just a space where people can be able to just, hang out and be in. So I'm really excited when that gets to open, and just looking forward to warm weather again. And being able to do events outside where we'll be able to, have more people and be able to, be safe, socially distant. So, that's what we have coming up. You can find out what we're doing at culturedaf.life. That is the tag for everything. So that's our website URL, that's our Instagram, and also our Facebook. So that's cultured with a D, af.life. And everything's on there. We're also trying to build up our YouTube page. So if you find us on YouTube, give us a little follow on there.
Great. I can't wait to come see your space. Yay. And I definitely, I told you I would love to contribute, especially from around. I told you if I'm not around, I'll make sure that you have some stuff that I can send chutney or whatever, but I'd love to, every time I've come out there, it's always been a really great time. Yeah. I really enjoyed myself. So I'd love to, be in person, especially after having lack of a social life for the last year. Except online, my art dates.
Right.
So, but I would like to say that I have a Make and Take Bag program coming up this Friday. And so if you want, it's called For the Love of Chocolates. And so if you want to learn how to make chocolate bombs, regular chocolate, Rose has been wonderful in printing, doing 3D printing for molds for us to make our chocolate in. We have really nice supplies from Echo Works, where you can put your chocolates in and make a nice little package to give to someone for Valentine's Day. So looking forward to doing that on Friday.
And if you want one of those kits, we only have 6 left, so call the library quick.
Only 6 more kits.
Only 6.
All right? Only 6 more kits.
They are going fast.
Yep. And then every Wednesday, we have Co-Create. Next week, it's going to be Teresa Joseph, who is one of the co-owners of Notorious PIC, which is a photography experiential business. So I look forward to talking with her. She's also a creative director. And I think that it's been really great to talk to you, Juanita, for other people, because, usually we have hardcore artists, but right. I want people, we have different creatives, but I think it's great because, people can see how you can use your creativity to produce things and also support people. And but sometimes people just look at creativity in one way, and then also your ability to get grants and get funding for the ideas that you have, because when you're creative, all of us can be creative, but then can we find money to be able to do what we want? And I think that that's powerful for people to hear. from you. And so next week I only have one program, right, Rose? I think. Oh no, I have two. I have two on Wednesday, but that's it.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I love that this is a creative in residence program. Like, I just haven't heard that term before. It's usually like an artist in residence. So the fact that that's even, exists, that the library has that, I think is amazing. And I would love to see something like that here, here in New London. And like you said, like, people just think of art or in one way, or being an artist in one way. And it's like, no, there's people out here, we're creatives, we're producing and doing things in a different way. It's not just the traditional, I'm an artist because I paint, or, something like that. There's a lot of other types of, creative practice that doesn't get talked about or highlighted as much.
Definitely.
Yeah, we've had like 3D modeling, photography,
Yeah.
video, all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I look forward to seeing you soon. We'll talk about the online stuff.
Yeah.
I'll leave it to you that you can call me Juanita, okay? Juanita doesn't like to have random people call her, just so you know.
Well, you asked, so you set a time. That's fine. That's fine.
So thank you, Deidre, for coming.
Yes.
Deidre, I'm sorry, for coming. I appreciate it. And have a great weekend. Happy Hump Day, everyone. Thank you,
Yes,
Rose.
thank
See you
you.
Friday.
Thank you,
Good night,
Nadine.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
guys. I enjoyed it. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.